Now, the UK is going to build a network of new weapons factories next year in a bid to boost its war readiness.
Well, it sounds like we need them. It comes as a Defence Committee report warns Britain isn't ready to defend itself from an attack. Defence Minister Luke Pollard joins us now. Very good morning to you, Mr. Pollard.
Morning.
Well, you're a Defence Minister in charge of the defence of a country which isn't ready to defend itself. How do you plead? How do you defend yourself?
Well, the men and women of our armed forces stand ready 24/7 to defend our country, but it's certainly right that the threats we're facing as a country are changing. And that's why we're investing more in new technologies, we're retiring old bits of kit, and we're learning the lessons from Ukraine. That means we can invest in the latest technologies to make sure that we have our armed forces having the type of equipment they need to deter aggression, but importantly to defeat it if necessary. And that's why today the Defence Secretary is announcing that we've identified 13 potential locations around the United Kingdom to build new munitions factories. That's to build the explosives, the energetics that go into artillery shells, into missiles, the stuff that goes bang in any of those weapon systems that we are desperately short of. We know there's a shortage of those in the UK system and across the NATO alliance. So our intention to build at least 6 of those sites in this Parliament by 2029 will not only help us restock our own stockpiles, it means we'll be able to sell the spare capacity to our NATO allies, creating more jobs.
Yeah, there's also part of this report says not only do we lack a plan for defending our homeland, the information needs to be got out to the public about the scale of the threat. So, what is the scale of the threat this morning as we sit here in November?
Well, we're seeing on a daily basis that our cyber systems are under a threat and under almost continuous attack by state actors. And by state actors, we largely mean Russia, North Korea, Iran. And we are needing to invest more to keep ourselves safe. We know that we've seen Russian spy ships loiter over some of our undersea cables, that we transmit much of our internet under the cables, because the cloud is not in the sky, the cloud is actually in the sea. So we're seeing the way that the threats we face are changing. And because we can see the way that warfare is changing in Ukraine, that means we need to fight differently, because the way that we previously thought Russia would fight, that's not what we're seeing now. And you only need to look at just how all-pervasive drone warfare is to see why we need to invest more in drones.
My question then is, Minister, is you've already described we're investing in things that go bang. Your words, not mine.
Yes,
but you're pointing out that the biggest threat this morning is either from cyber hacks or is from drones. Are we investing in the right stuff?
I mean, the truth is we have to invest in all of those capabilities. And that's why we're not only announcing the 13 potential munitions sites today, we're also opening 2 new drone factories in the UK this week, one in Plymouth and another one in Swindon, so we can start developing those new technologies that we need, because we can see that there's a risk in conventional land, air and sea domains from Russia threatening NATO forces, especially on our eastern flank, so Eastern Europe, where we have British troops stationed in Estonia, for instance. So we need to make sure that our forces there have the weapons stocks and the equipment they need. But we're also seeing Russia push into other domains, so threatening some of our space capabilities, threatening our cyber capabilities and our cyber security.
And finally,
increasingly, that's why we've got to invest across the board.
You're repeatedly talking about Russia, but we hear this morning that one of the biggest threats is from China. Are you going to would you allow, as the Defence Minister, them to build a massive embassy with their basement full of who knows what surveillance capability in the heart of London?
Well, the planning decision on the new embassy is being taken by MHCLG ministers. It's a quasi-judicial planning process, which means it's a legal one. We've asked for more time to consider the national security implications of that.
Would you, as Defence Minister, want them building that?
Well, as Defence, we've raised and shared our concerns around any new capabilities that may or may not exist in any foreign embassies. We're also aware that as a nation, we've got considerable capabilities that already look after those foreign powers that have embassies in the United Kingdom, which includes China, which includes Russia. So we're aware of activities. We don't often speak about that level of intelligence gathering for obvious reasons, but a decision will be taken by the government on the proposed Chinese embassy by the 10th of December this year as part of that formal planning process. But we need to be aware that as we're living in a new era of threat, it's not just conventional threats that we face. There's new forms of espionage, and that's why in the House of Commons yesterday, the Security Minister made the announcement about strengthening our parliamentary democracy to stop, in particular, Chinese involvement that seeks to undermine our parliamentary democracy, and why MI5 took the unusual step of publishing additional advice to MPs and their staff. But I think that advice applies to businesses and the wider public as well, but how we need to be more alive to some of those risks online, especially on social media.
Thank you for that. I want to ask you, while there's a bit of time left, about, well, we used to call him Prince Andrew, but he's just Andrew now. He's as common as you or me or Susanna or anyone in this studio. We know that the Epstein emails are going to be released now, all of them. The president's likely to sign the final document on that one a bit later today. And accusations against Andrew are mounting in America. And overnight, there have been fresh calls for him to come and tell America, tell Congress, what he knows about Epstein. There is speculation that he might be extradited, that America might seek to drag him over to America by force. If they were to submit an extradition application, would you support it? Would you agree with it?
Well, it's always dangerous for a minister to comment on hypothetical situations. What I can say is we're acting as a department in accordance with His Majesty the King's wishes when it comes to the role that the Ministry of Defence has. There's been a number of titles that are conveyed upon members of the royal family that have a military rank, and we've been looking at those titles that that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor continues to have that are military. Decisions will be announced very shortly in respect of that, but I think the direction of travel is pretty clear from Buckingham Palace in relation to that. But you'll be aware that we wouldn't ever normally comment on extradition cases for anybody, and that would include the individual that you're talking about.
Andrew. He's the individual that we're talking about. All right, Minister, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.